Welcome to Vantage with AI. After Ideogram surprised everyone by open sourcing their latest image model, Krea AI has now followed suit and released an open source version of their newest text-to-image model, Krea 2. In today's video, we'll take a look at Krea 2 and test it inside a ComfyUI workflow. Krea has released two versions of the model. The first is the full raw model, which requires a CFG value of 3 and around 52 steps for generation. The second is the distilled turbo model, which is classifier guidance free, runs at CFG 1, and typically requires only 8 steps to generate an image. One of the most impressive features of Krea 2 is that it can generate images at native 2K resolution, allowing for highly detailed outputs without requiring additional upscaling. Alongside the base models, Krea has also released a collection of official LoRAs. These LoRAs were fine-tuned on the raw model but are specifically designed to be used with the turbo model, giving you access to a wide variety of styles and creative effects while maintaining the speed advantages of turbo. For today's testing, we'll be focusing entirely on the turbo model. We'll begin with a baseline image generated using the model on its own, and then move through a variety of official style LoRAs to explore the different artistic styles and creative effects that Krea 2 is capable of producing. Before we jump into the workflow, let's quickly go through the files you'll need. First, you'll need the Krea 2 Turbo model. It's available in both BF16 and FP8 formats, and if you're working with limited VRAM, you can also download one of the GGUF quantized versions. Next, you'll need the Qwen 3 VL4B text encoder, which Krea 2 uses for prompt understanding. You'll also need the Qwen image VAE for decoding the generated latent output into the final image. And finally, if you'd like to experiment with the official styles, you can download any of the available LoRAs. The download links section also includes the trigger words required to activate each LoRA's effect. I've included direct download links for all of these models inside the workflow itself, and you'll also find them in the video description below, along with links to the workflow files. And while you're down there, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. It really helps support the channel and allows us to keep bringing more AI content your way. Now let's take a quick look at the workflow itself. The workflow is intentionally kept simple and is divided into a few clearly organized sections. The first section is the model section, where you load the Krea model, text encoder, VAE, and any LoRAs you want to use. Next comes the control section. Here you can define the output resolution of your generated image and also select whether you're using the Safetensors version of the model or one of the GGUF quantized versions. After that, we have the prompt section, where you'll enter your positive prompt. Since we're using the turbo model, a negative prompt is generally not required. Finally, we have the sampling section, where the actual image generation takes place. Once everything is configured, simply cue the workflow and your image will be generated. With the setup out of the way, let's move on to the interesting part and see how Krea 2 actually performs across a variety of prompts and styles. For our first test, we're using the base Krea 2 Turbo model without any LoRAs. The objective here is to see how well the model handles human anatomy, complex body poses, and extreme wide-angle perspective. These kinds of images are often challenging because they involve foreshortening, outstretched limbs, and unusual body positioning. Let's see what Krea 2 Turbo generates. And the result is quite impressive. The model captures the wide-angle perspective very convincingly, with the hand appearing naturally larger as it extends toward the camera. The anatomy remains consistent throughout the image, and even the hand details are surprisingly well rendered. It also follows the composition accurately, keeping the subject's face turned away while maintaining a strong sense of motion and energy. Overall, this is a very solid result and a strong start for Krea 2 Turbo. For our second test, we'll enable the KidsDrawing LoRA to see how effectively Krea 2 Turbo can transform its output into a completely different artistic style. The goal here is to generate something that looks like it was drawn by a child using crayons, with simple shapes, rough sketch lines, and a playful hand-drawn appearance. Let's see what the model produces. The result is exactly what we'd hoped to see. The image successfully captures the look of a children's crayon drawing with uneven lines, vibrant colors, and intentionally simple proportions. Even the dragon's expression and the fire extinguisher are rendered in a way that feels like they were drawn straight out of a kid's sketchbook. What's particularly impressive is that the LoRA doesn't just change the texture of the image, it completely changes the artistic style while still preserving the intent of the prompt. Overall, this is an excellent demonstration of both the quality of the KidsDrawing LoRA and Krea 2 Turbo's ability to follow stylized creative directions. For our third test, we'll enable the RetroAnime LoRA and see how well it can recreate the look and feel of classic anime from the 80s and 90s. The objective here is not just to generate an anime image, but to capture the distinct visual characteristics of that era, including bold line work, cel-shaded coloring, dramatic action poses, and the nostalgic aesthetic associated with vintage animation. Let's see what the model generates. And the result looks fantastic. The image immediately conveys that retro anime feel, from the character design and color palette to the shading style and overall composition. The dynamic pose of the rearing horse is captured well, and the wide-angle perspective adds a strong sense of energy to the scene. The LoRA also does an excellent job of recreating the classic cel animation look, making the image feel like a frame taken directly from an old anime series. Overall, this is another excellent result and a great showcase of how effectively Krea 2 Turbo and its official LoRAs can reproduce highly specific artistic styles. For our fourth test, we'll enable the DotMatrix LoRA and explore a monochrome illustration style inspired by stippling and ink-based artwork. The objective here is to see how well the model can combine a fashion-focused composition with a highly stylized black and white rendering technique. The low-angle perspective and dynamic pose also give us another opportunity to evaluate anatomy and composition accuracy. Let's see what Krea 2 Turbo generates. And once again, the result is very impressive. The DotMatrix LoRA completely transforms the image, giving it the appearance of a handcrafted, stippled illustration rather than a traditional AI-generated render. The monochrome aesthetic is consistent throughout the image, and the fine grain-like texture adds a lot of visual character. The model also handles the dramatic low-angle perspective well, maintaining believable proportions while preserving the fashion editorial feel of the scene. Overall, this is another strong example of how effectively Krea 2 Turbo can adapt to specialized artistic styles while still maintaining excellent prompt adherence. For our fifth test, we'll enable the RainyWindow LoRA. This test is designed to evaluate several challenging aspects at once: environmental effects, action photography, realistic reflections, and water droplets, as well as the model's ability to render readable text within the scene. Let's see what Krea 2 Turbo generates. The result is surprisingly good. The RainyWindow LoRA creates a very convincing wet glass effect, with realistic raindrops and streaks that add depth and atmosphere to the image. The action shot itself feels energetic, and the wide-angle composition helps emphasize both the player and the approaching tennis ball. What's particularly impressive is the text rendering. The model successfully generates the US Open text on the tennis ball, and it's clearly readable, something that image generation models have traditionally struggled with. Combined with the realistic photography style, accurate reflections, and strong sense of motion, this ends up being one of the most impressive results we've seen so far. Overall, this is an excellent showcase of both Krea 2 Turbo's prompt adherence and the quality of its official LoRAs. For our sixth test, we'll enable the SoftWatercolor LoRA. The goal here is to create a highly stylized illustration featuring multiple runners, exaggerated proportions, and an extreme wide-angle perspective, all rendered in a soft watercolor aesthetic. Let's see what Krea 2 Turbo generates. The result is excellent. The watercolor effect is applied consistently throughout the image, giving it the appearance of a hand-painted illustration rather than a digital render. The soft color blending and subtle textures work particularly well with the Art Deco-inspired graphic style. What's also impressive is how well the model handles the exaggerated perspective. The runners in the foreground appear significantly larger than those in the background, creating a strong sense of motion and depth while maintaining believable anatomy. Overall, this is another strong showcase of the official LoRAs, demonstrating how easily Krea 2 Turbo can shift between photographic, illustrative, and highly stylized artistic workflows. For our seventh test, we'll enable the NeonDrip LoRA. The goal here is to see how well Krea 2 Turbo can move beyond traditional illustration and photography into a much more abstract, painterly style while still preserving the core elements of the scene. Let's see what the model generates. The result is absolutely stunning. The image successfully captures the skateboarder's motion while transforming the entire scene into a vibrant abstract painting. The sweeping brushstrokes and rich colors create a strong sense of energy, making the image feel almost alive. What's particularly impressive is that despite the highly stylized rendering, the skateboard, and even the reflection in the puddle remain clearly recognizable. The model manages to balance abstraction and readability exceptionally well. Overall, this is one of the most visually striking results of the entire test, and an excellent demonstration of how creative and expressive the official LoRAs can be when paired with Krea 2 Turbo. For our 8th test, we'll enable the VintageTarot LoRA. The objective here is to see how well Krea 2 Turbo can recreate the distinctive look of classic tarot card illustrations, with bold line work, limited color palettes, decorative composition, and a handcrafted print-like appearance. Let's see what the model generates. The result is excellent. The image immediately resembles a vintage tarot or storybook illustration, with strong outlines, stylized shapes, and a traditional printmaking aesthetic. The deer remains the clear focal point, while the surrounding forest and sun help create a balanced and visually pleasing composition. What's particularly impressive is how naturally the LoRA transforms the scene. Rather than simply applying a filter, it captures the artistic language of vintage tarot artwork, making the image feel authentic and cohesive. Overall, this is another fantastic result and further demonstrates the versatility of Krea 2 Turbo and its official LoRA collection. For our final test, we'll enable the DarkBrush LoRA. The goal here is to create a dramatic monochrome artwork using an ink wash aesthetic, while also evaluating how well the model handles intricate details such as feathers, metallic surfaces, and decorative elements. Let's see what Krea 2 Turbo generates. And this is a fantastic way to end the showcase. The image beautifully captures the ink wash style, with fluid brush-like textures, deep blacks, and soft gradients that resemble traditional ink artwork. At the same time, the model preserves an impressive amount of detail, particularly in the metallic wings and floral crown. What's especially striking is the contrast between the delicate facial features and the bold, expressive brushstrokes surrounding the subject. The composition feels both elegant and dramatic, creating a very strong visual impact. Overall, this is one of the strongest results from today's tests and a great demonstration of the artistic range that Krea 2 Turbo and its official LoRAs are capable of. And that's Krea 2 Turbo running inside ComfyUI. Overall, I'm genuinely impressed by both the model quality and the official LoRA collection. From photorealistic images to anime, watercolor paintings, abstract artwork, and even readable text generation, Krea 2 delivered consistently strong results across all of our tests. If you'd like to try it yourself, you'll find links to all the models and workflows in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which test was your favorite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.